I didn't raise my voice when she said it. That's the part no one seems able to understand. The party lights were still warm on my face, the guests buzzing behind us, when my sister leaned in, wine poised between her fingers, and whispered that my daughter wasn't real blood, so the $1 million inheritance should naturally go to her son. Naturally. I remember the way the room seemed to slow, the way conversations stretched into echoes. My daughter was across the table, laughing. She didn't hear the knife slide between my ribs. I did. We weren't always like this. I used to think my sister and I were two halves of the same storm, loud, reckless, inseparable. We survived our parents, their tempers, their silences. We promised we'd build something better. I trusted her with more than secrets. I trusted her with hope. She was the first person I told when I decided to adopt. She was the first to hold my daughter. Back then, she said family was a choice. She said blood didn't matter. Funny how people rewrite their morals when money enters the scene. The betrayal didn't arrive all at once. It came in shifts, like a house settling before it collapses. A strange pause when I mentioned my daughter's future. A quick glance between her and her husband. Her son parroting words a child shouldn't know. Mom says you're not really related. Little fractures, hairline cracks. Then the message, a screenshot sent to me by mistake. Her complaining to a cousin that she deserved the bulk of the estate because she had a real child. Calling my daughter the charity case. That was the moment my heartbeat went cold. Not broken, just cold. People expect rage, but what came over me was clarity. I didn't confront her, not yet. I watched. Every conversation, every request, every subtle manipulation, they all lined up like pieces on a board. She thought she could push me into adjusting the will out of guilt. She thought I'd cling to the fantasy that we were still sisters. But I'd learned long ago, the quietest person in the room is usually the one holding the truth. I began planning. A lawyer's appointment here, a discreet meeting with my estate executor there, a private revision. My daughter receives everything. My sister's branch, cut clean. I left one clause untouched, her son's college fund, which I created years ago. But I added a condition, behavioral. If either parent displayed hostility toward my daughter, the fund would dissolve. I didn't tell anyone, not until the moment mattered. That moment arrived at the party. When she said my daughter wasn't part of the family, I didn't react. I simply asked her to repeat herself. She did. Slower this time, bolder, like she believed I needed the cruelty clarified. I nodded once. Then I stood, walked across the table, and quietly asked the DJ to cut the music. The room dimmed. All eyes turned. I didn't announce her sins. That would have given her the attention she craved. Instead, I asked my daughter to step outside for a moment. Then, in the silence, I looked at my sister and said only, "Leave." She laughed at first, thought I was joking, until security approached, until she saw the look in my eyes. Steady, final, the same look our father used when he locked a door behind us. Her husband sputtered something about family. I answered, exactly. They were escorted out, her heels clattering on the marble like an apology that came too late. Their calls started an hour later, then the messages, then the voicemails that swung between rage, begging, and promises soaked in desperation. I waited until morning to respond. One sentence, check with my lawyer. It took them 30 minutes. Then my phone exploded. They'd discovered everything. Her removal from the will, the dissolution of her son's college fund triggered by her own words at the party. She hadn't even realized there were witnesses who heard her. She tried to blame alcohol. She tried to blame stress. She even tried to blame me for misinterpreting. But I don't misinterpret knives pressed against my child. Now, as my phone vibrates nonstop beside me, I sit here in the quiet aftermath. My daughter is asleep in the next room, curled against her stuffed rabbit. blissfully unaware of how close someone tried to cut her out of her own life. People say revenge is loud. Mine wasn't. It was a whisper, a pen stroke, a locked door at the right moment. And as for my sister, she taught me one final lesson. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who doesn't flinch when someone tries to spill it. I didn't lose a sister. I just identified a threat and removed it.